Chinese airline companies are discussing measures to deal with the EU's new tax trading scheme that aims to combat carbon emissions. While they know that to bargain with the EU is beyond the reach of any single company, civil aviation authorities have urged the EU to reconsider its plan, which they say has overestimated China's ability to tackle climate change. China is also stepping up its efforts to save energy and reduce emissions. Here's Yuan Xiaoyuan again with more details.
Although it released no details of its actions, the civil aviation authorities voiced strong opposition against the EU's unilateral move.
The EU's plan to impose carbon emission tax has ignored the different stages of development between developed and developing countries. We are calling for a policy that treats developed and developing countries differently. It should take into account the fact that developed countries have contributed more carbon emissions over 100 years of industrialization, while developing countries have just stepped into the stage of development. So developed countries need to take more responsibility for combating climate change.
This is the stance that China is expected to bring to the upcoming Copenhagen Climate Change Conference later this year. But this doesn't mean the country is ignoring environmental protection. A government plan was released in 2008, setting targets for energy saving and emissions reduction in the civil aviation industry. Domestic airlines are doing what they can to bring down their carbon emissions. Measures like optimizing flight routes and alleviating plane loads are widely used for higher efficiency. They also renew their planes to be more environmentally clean. But like those in many other developing countries, the Chinese airline industry is facing export restrictions from developed countries on green technology. This has hampered the country's steps to reduce its greenhouse gas emissions. China has called for developed countries to transfer their technologies to developing countries to help alleviate their burdens. More discussions are expected on this issue at next month's climate change conference in Copenhagen. Meanwhile, China is expected to join with other countries outside the EU to seek a global solution to airline carbon emissions. Yuan Xiaoyuan, CCTV.